Everybody already knows the big Florida success stories: Miami, Tampa, Orlando. The postcard cities that get all the headlines, all the corporate relocations, all the Instagram shots. But here's what nobody's talking about. While those cities get crowded and expensive, the next wave of Florida's growth is happening somewhere else entirely: smaller cities. Overlooked cities, places where land is still cheap, jobs are multiplying, and population numbers are exploding by double digits almost nobody outside the state has noticed. Some of these cities are absorbing more new residents per year than cities 4 times their size. Some are landing $100 million factories and aerospace campuses most Americans have never heard of. And one of them, according to a 2026 national ranking, is now officially the single fastest growing boomtown in the entire United States. Not Austin, not Charlotte, not Nashville. A Florida city you've probably driven straight through without stopping. Today we're counting down the 10 Florida cities positioned to boom next. The towns where the smart money, the developers, and the movers are already quietly showing up before everyone else catches on. We're counting backwards from 10 to number 1, so stick around, because the city at the very top of this list is growing faster than almost anywhere else in America. Before we get into it, if you're into Florida real estate migration trends and finding out where the next opportunities are forming before they go mainstream, hit that subscribe button right now. We put out breakdowns like this regularly, ranking the cities, the costs, and the hidden trends shaping where Florida is headed next. It's free, it takes 2 seconds, and it means you won't miss the next one. Let's start the countdown. Number 10 is Deltona, a city in Volusia County that most people have never heard mentioned outside of a census report. Since 2014, Deltona has grown by more than 21%, and it's not slowing down. What makes Deltona interesting isn't flashy new skyscrapers or a splashy corporate headquarters. It's something more fundamental. Deltona has spent decades quietly building housing supply. This city started as a group of planned communities dating back to the 1960s, and today it functions as one of the most reliable pipelines for new residents pouring into Central Florida. For every person who leaves Deltona, roughly 1.5 people move in. That's a strong signal for a city with limited name recognition. Deltona sits close enough to Daytona Beach in Orlando that residents get coastal access and job market access without paying Orlando or coastal prices. The city's challenge has always been a smaller, less diversified job market compared to bigger metros nearby. But that's exactly why Deltona makes this list at number 10 and not higher. It's a steady grower, not yet an explosive one. But steady, reliable, in-migration year after year is exactly the kind of foundation that turns into something bigger. Watch this one for continued expansion as Volusia County's affordability keeps attracting families being priced out of the coast. Number 9 is Fort Myers, and this one might surprise you because Fort Myers already has a reputation. But that reputation is exactly what's fueling its next chapter. Fort Myers currently posts one of the highest annual growth rates of any city in the state, north of 7% a year. That's not luck. That's a downtown that's undergone a real revitalization, a location right on the Gulf Coast, and an economy that keeps producing jobs faster than most Florida metros its size. After Hurricane Ian hit the region hard in 2022, plenty of outsiders assumed Southwest Florida's growth story was over. Instead, the opposite happened. Rebuilding brought construction jobs, insurance settlements, brought capital back into the local economy, and buyers who got priced out of Naples and Sarasota started looking at Fort Myers as the more affordable alternative with the same lifestyle. Retirees continue to flock here for the beaches and the golf communities. But increasingly, young families and remote workers are choosing Fort Myers too, drawn by job growth, comparative safety, and pricing that's still meaningfully lower than the more famous cities surrounding it. The city's downtown corridor along the Caloosahatchee River has become a genuine draw in its own right, with restaurants, riverfront development, and residential conversions turning what used to be a sleepy strip into an actual destination. Fort Myers earns the number 9 spot because it's already growing fast. The real question is whether that pace accelerates even further as Southwest Florida's rebuilding phase turns into a full growth phase. Number 8 belongs to Davenport, sitting inside Polk County, which is arguably the most quietly important growth engine in the entire state of Florida. Polk County, the county that contains Davenport, led the entire United States in net domestic migration in a single recent year, adding more than 26,000 new residents from other parts of the country in just 12 months. That's an almost unbelievable number for a county most Americans couldn't find on a map. Davenport itself sits in the perfect geographic sweet spot, close enough to Orlando for theme park jobs and tourism income, close enough to Tampa for port and logistics work, and still affordable enough that first-time buyers and young families can actually purchase a home. Since 2014, Davenport's population has surged by well over 100%. It's not a fluke. It's the direct result of developers recognizing this location years before anyone else did. What used to be a bedroom community is turning into something more self-sufficient, with new retail centers, healthcare facilities, and logistics and distribution operations opening up local jobs that didn't exist a decade ago. Homebuyers are still finding houses in the $350,000 to $400,000 range here, a price point that's becoming almost impossible to find closer to Orlando or Tampa proper. As those two major metros keep getting more expensive, expect the entire I-4 corridor around Davenport to keep absorbing the overflow. Number 7 takes us to Marion County, home to Ocala, where entire pockets of new development are growing by 6.5% to 7.5% annually. Marion Oaks, Liberty Triangle, and several other communities are seeing some of the fastest population jumps in the state, and almost nobody outside Florida is paying attention. The appeal here is simple. Marion County still has enormous stretches of former farmland that developers are converting into new subdivisions, and the land is still cheap compared to almost anywhere else in Central Florida. That means home prices that are dramatically lower than Orlando, Tampa, or the coasts, while still offering a short drive to both the Ocala metro area and Gainesville for jobs, healthcare, and amenities. Ocala itself has built a reputation as one of the more affordable, family-friendly cities in the state, with decent schools and a job market that's slowly diversifying beyond its traditional base in agriculture and horse farming. Marion County is actually the horse capital of the world into healthcare, logistics, and light manufacturing. Retirees are moving here in large numbers too, but increasingly they're being joined by younger families and remote workers who got priced out of South Florida entirely and are chasing the last truly affordable inventory left in Central Florida. As long as that land stays available and that price gap versus Orlando and Tampa stays wide, Marion County's growth curve has real room to keep climbing. Number 6 is Port St. Lucie along Florida's Treasure Coast, a metro area that has repeatedly landed among the fastest growing regions in the entire country over the past several years. What makes Port St. Lucie compelling isn't just the raw growth number, it's the diversification happening underneath it. This used to be viewed almost purely as a retirement destination, a quieter alternative to Palm Beach County just to the south. That's changing. Port St. Lucie now has a growing healthcare sector, an expanding manufacturing base, and enough new housing supply coming online that it's starting to pull in commuters and young professionals, not just retirees looking for a quiet place to settle down. The math here is compelling for buyers too. Home prices remain meaningfully below Palm Beach County and Miami-Dade, while residents still get Atlantic Ocean access and a lower cost of living overall. Nearby areas like Sebastian and Vero Beach are picking up the overflow as Port St. Lucie itself becomes more built out, extending this growth corridor further up the Treasure Coast. The risk factor worth noting is one that applies across almost this entire list: hurricane exposure and the insurance costs that come with it. But even with those headwinds, the fundamental math of affordability plus coastal access plus job diversification keeps pulling new residents toward this stretch of Florida's East Coast, and that trend shows no sign of reversing. Number 5 is where this list starts to shift from pure population growth towards something arguably more powerful: concentrated, high-wage job creation. Titusville and the surrounding Space Coast region are in the middle of a genuine aerospace boom. Space Perspective, a luxury spaceflight company, selected Titusville's Space Coast Spaceport as the location for its entire worldwide campus and manufacturing complex. a project worth more than $38 million that's expected to create roughly 240 full-time permanent jobs by the end of 2026, with an average annual wage around $80,000. That's just one piece of it. Terran Orbital committed more than $300 million to build a commercial spacecraft and satellite constellation facility on Merritt Island. Blue Origin's expanding facility in the region is supporting hundreds of aerospace jobs with average salaries above $98,000. And Northrop Grumman's engineers have been developing next-generation defense aircraft at a growing campus near Melbourne Orlando International Airport. This isn't tourism-driven growth or retiree-driven growth. This is a cluster of aerospace and defense employers stacking high-paying, highly skilled jobs on top of each other in the same geographic corridor. When that kind of employment concentration builds, housing demand, retail expansion, and population growth follow close behind. The Space Coast has quietly become one of the most underrated job growth stories in the entire state, and Titusville sits right in the middle of it. Number 4 is Cape Coral, which recent national rankings placed among the very fastest growing boomtowns in the entire United States, not just Florida. Cape Coral has one of the most unique layouts of any city in America. It was built around an enormous man-made canal system, more miles of canals than any other city on Earth, which gives it a waterfront lifestyle that's usually reserved for far more expensive markets. For years, Cape Coral was viewed as Fort Myers' quieter, more residential neighbor. That's no longer accurate. The city has been absorbing a steady wave of new residents drawn by waterfront access at a price point dramatically below Naples or Sarasota, while still delivering that same Southwest Florida climate and lifestyle. What's driving this further is spillover from Fort Myers itself. As Fort Myers' downtown and surrounding neighborhoods get more expensive, Cape Coral captures the overflow demand. New construction is happening at a rapid pace, from single-family developments to waterfront condos, and the city's population has been climbing steadily enough to rank among the nation's top boom towns based on growth measured over the past decade. The challenge, like much of coastal Southwest Florida, is hurricane exposure and the associated insurance costs that come with a canal-heavy, waterfront-dominated city. But the demand keeps outpacing that risk, and Cape Coral's growth trajectory shows no sign of cooling off anytime soon. Number 3 is a genuine milestone city. Jacksonville officially crossed the 1 million population mark, becoming just the second city in the entire country to hit that threshold in a recent census update, alongside Fort Worth, Texas. That alone makes Jacksonville Florida's largest city by population. But what makes Jacksonville a boom city rather than just a big one is what's happening on the investment side. Otto Aviation is investing more than $430 million into an advanced manufacturing and production facility in Jacksonville, upgrading an existing hangar and building an 850,000 square foot factory that's expected to create more than 389 new jobs. Georgia Pacific is adding a 400,000 square foot warehouse to its paper products operation as part of an $83 million investment. And Jacksonville's port continues to be one of the busiest in the entire United States, anchoring the city's role as a logistics and distribution powerhouse. Major companies including CSX, Fidelity, and Bank of America have all expanded operations here. And the city's job base spans logistics, manufacturing, financial services, and a long-standing defense industry presence tied to its naval installations. Since 2014, Jacksonville has added more than 24% to its population. What's notable is that this is happening in a city that's already massive by Florida standards, proving that Jacksonville's growth isn't just about being a smaller, cheaper alternative to Miami or Orlando, but a legitimate, self-sustaining economic engine in its own right. Number 2 might catch some people off guard, because Orlando already feels like an established, mature Florida city. But according to the latest University of Central Florida economic forecast, Orlando is projected to be Florida's leading growth center over the next decade, adding more jobs than Miami, despite Miami having roughly twice the population, and more jobs than Tampa and Jacksonville combined. Local employment growth in Orlando is forecast at 1.3% for 2026, well above both the statewide rate and the national rate. What's driving this is diversification. Orlando isn't just a tourism town anymore. The city has built a genuine tech sector centered on simulation and training technology, a growing aerospace presence, and an expanding healthcare and medical technology industry. The region's population could realistically cross 3 million people in the near future, and the composition of that growth, a mix of domestic migration and rising international migration, suggests staying power rather than a temporary spike. City leaders have also laid out a long-term vision called Orlando 2045, positioning the region as a global, creative capital rather than simply a theme park destination. That kind of intentional economic planning, paired with real job creation numbers that are already outperforming national trends, is exactly why Orlando lands at number 2. It's proof that even an already huge Florida city can still be in the early stages of its next growth chapter. And that brings us to number 1. And this one is the biggest surprise on the entire list. According to a 2026 National Moving Industry Report, Lakeland was ranked the single fastest growing boomtown in the entire United States, ahead of Austin, ahead of Charlotte, ahead of Nashville. Lakeland's population has grown by more than 34% since 2014, the highest of any city measured in that national study. For decades, Lakeland was known as nothing more than a pit stop, the halfway point on Interstate 4 between Tampa and Orlando, a place people passed through, not a destination in its own right. That has completely flipped. Lakeland's location, sitting almost exactly between two of Florida's biggest metros, has become its single greatest asset. Logistics and distribution companies have poured into the area precisely because they can reach both Tampa and Orlando's massive consumer bases from one central hub. On top of that industrial boom, Lakeland has quietly built genuine downtown appeal, a college in the city, lakefront parks, Art Deco architecture, and a growing strip of antique shops and local businesses that have turned the historic core into an actual neighborhood people want to live in, not just drive past. The numbers back up the momentum. For every resident who leaves Lakeland, roughly 1 1/3 new residents move in, a ratio that signals sustained demand rather than a short-term spike. This is a city that built its boom on fundamentals: location, logistics, affordability, and a downtown worth sticking around for, rather than hype. And that combination is exactly why Lakeland, a city most people still can't place on a map, is officially the number 1 fastest growing boomtown in the entire United States heading into 2026. So there you have it, the 10 Florida cities positioned to boom next, counting all the way from Deltona at number 10 to Lakeland, claiming the number 1 spot in the entire country. What ties all 10 of these cities together isn't luck. It's the same repeating formula: affordability that's disappearing everywhere else, job growth concentrated in real industries, and location advantages that are only becoming more valuable as Florida's bigger, more famous cities get more crowded and more expensive. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure you're subscribed, because we track Florida's shifting real estate and migration landscape regularly, and the next city to make a list like this might be one you've never even heard of yet. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.